Ancient Egypt's rich civilization featured a vast pantheon of gods and goddesses, each with intricate stories of conflict, deceit, and love. Some pharaohs achieved near-divine status, further adding to the complexity. Many iconic Egyptian sites, like the temples of Kom-Ombo and Edfu, were built to honor these deities. To prepare for a visit to Egypt, it's essential to grasp the intricate world of Egyptian mythology, although it can be quite bewildering at times. Let's dive in. Number 5. Osiris. Osiris, god of the underworld, symbolized death and resurrection in ancient Egypt. It was he who was responsible for the cyclical annual flooding of the Nile, which was so crucial to agriculture and the survival of the Egyptian civilization. According to one of the most important stories in Egyptian mythology, Osiris, king of Egypt, was brutally murdered and dismembered by his jealous brother Set. Set scattered the pieces of Osiris across Egypt and became king himself. But the mourning wife and sister of Osiris, Isis, set about gathering the pieces of her husband and resurrected him. This allowed the couple to have a son, Horus. This task fulfilled, Osiris returned permanently to the underworld. Osiris was most often depicted as a mummified king with green skin, an example of the death he represented. Number 4. Isis. Goddess of the moon, protector of women and children, healer of the sick, Isis was the wife of Osiris and mother of Horus. Her legend eventually found its way to Greece, where temples still stand in devotion to her. Having resurrected her dead husband, Isis helped her son to avenge his murder in his battle against Set. She endured as the most important goddess in ancient Egypt until the end of the civilization. The Temple of Philae in Aswan was built in her honor. It was famously relocated from its original location in the 1970s to protect it from flooding caused by the Aswan High Dam. Number 3. Horus. Things are now getting complicated, and Horus is an example of this. There are 6 variations of the god known to have existed in Egyptian mythology. The most famous is the description mentioned above, Horus as a son of Osiris and Isis. Depicted as a falcon-headed man and worshipped as the god of the sky and war, he would eventually avenge his father against his uncle Set, becoming king of Egypt himself. It was during this conflict that Horus lost his eye. You have probably heard of the Eye of Horus. In another important variation, Horus is merged with Ra to create Ra-Horakhti. This is an example of how the Egyptian gods were not simple deities. Over centuries, the stories changed and many gods and goddesses merged into each other. Number 2. Anubis. Anubis is one of the most recognizable figures in Egyptian mythology. The god had the striking black head of a jackal and was most often associated with death and the afterlife. A protector of graves, his legend is distinctive by its lack of temples or other structures. Instead, tombs and mastabas of the dead were seen as Anubis places of worship. Number 1. Ra. Arguably ancient Egypt's most important god, Ra was the creator god. He was one of the first to emerge in Egyptian mythology. Ra created earth, heaven, and the underworld, as well as all of the gods and living creatures that inhabit these 3 worlds. Many ancient Egyptians believed they were born from Ra's sweat and tears. Ra sailed across the sky during the day, carrying the sun, and then spent the nights traveling through the underworld before helping to bring the sun up again the next morning. Many of Egypt's pharaohs tried to convince their subjects that they were the personification of Ra on earth, creating vast sun temples. One of these was in the ancient city of Heliopolis. A single obelisk remains here in modern-day Cairo, aged more than 4,000 years.